Welcome everyone to August Richmond Valley Council Ordinary Meeting. It's wonderful to see a good turn up in the gallery. Usually we only have one or two, so that's very pleasing. I'll open the meeting with acknowledgement of country. Richmond Valley Council recognises the people of the Bundjalung Nations as custodians and traditional owners of this land, and we value and appreciate the continuing culture, connection to lands, their living culture and their unique role in the life of this region in the past, present and future. Mr General Manager, could you read the prayer, please?
Dear Lord, we meet to serve our Richmond Valley community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, and to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognise our responsibility to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen.
Amen. Public access. There's been no request for public access. Apologies. We have one apology from Councillor Cornish, who has work commitments. Could I get a mover, please?
Move, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey. Seconder?
Yeah, second.
Councillor Hayes. Put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Page 6 is the mayoral minute, and I'll move that. The council acknowledges receipt of the... Oh, sorry, I need a seconder.
Second, Mr Mayor.
That council acknowledges the receipt of the R.H. Doherty Award for its Rebuilding and Richmond Valley Recovery Plan, and 2, extends its congratulations to all staff involved in preparing and delivering the plan to support our community's continued flood recovery. Earlier this month, I had the pleasure of representing Richmond Valley Council at the Local Government New South Wales Awards in Sydney. The awards celebrate councils who demonstrate excellence across a range of categories such as the arts, culture, events, communications and planning. Council entered its Rebuilding the Richmond Valley Recovery Plan and the R.H. Doherty Awards reporting to it Your Community category, and I was honoured to accept the highly commended award for this project. The reporting to your community category recognises and encourages greater understanding and communication by councils with their local communities, with entries judged by leading experts in the communications field. Council's Rebuilding the Richmond Valley Recovery Plan was designed to provide clear direction and reassurance to our community as it commenced its recovery from the catastrophic floods of 2022. This was one of the most difficult times that our community had faced, with more than 450 local homes rendered uninhabitable, 1,000 people displaced, and a massive $150 million plus community infrastructure repair. At this difficult time, Council wanted to act quickly to support flood-affected towns and villages with clear strategies and timeframes for recovery. We also wanted to provide a space for our community to tell the story of its flood experience and to raise awareness of the Richmond Valley's needs with other levels of government. The document was prepared in time of a constant change, with new flood recovery initiatives being announced daily. The stories and images in this plan are powerful, and its simple message of courage and hope has served as an important advocate for our community, bringing the human face of the Richmond Valley flood disaster into funding negotiations. The document has been circulated to all levels of government to raise awareness of the Richmond Valley's recovery journey and seek support. As a result of this advocacy, Council has attracted significant direct funding support for our flood-affected communities. Although the Richmond Valley still has a long way to go in its recovery journey, we have made great progress in the first year of the recovery plan. Council would like to thank the community for its continued courage and persistence during the difficult time. We are immensely proud of how many people stepped up and worked hard to support and protect our community during and after these floods events. I would also like to congratulate all staff involved in not only rebuilding the Richmond Valley Recovery Plan, but also those who each day continue to deliver on our flood recovery programs. Councillors, it was very, very rewarding to accept that on behalf of Richmond Valley Council, because I know how much work went into that document, and I also realise the contribution that the community has made since that document's been printed and presented to them, and it was very gratifying. Is there any other councillors who'd like to speak? If not, I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried. Next item is another mayoral minute on page 8, and it's regarding the casino truck show. I'll move the recommendation that Council notes the outstanding success of the 2023 North Coast Petroleum Casino Truck Show and its well-deserved title as the biggest truck show in the Southern Hemisphere. 2, extends its congratulations to the organising committee, volunteers and council staff led by our Community Connection team for delivering a high-quality event for our community.
Second, Mr Mayor.
Technically, I don't. Oh, no. I don't think it. Anyway, that's fine. The 2023 North Coast Petroleum Casino Truck Show was a great success and has eclipsed all records for the attendance at a Richmond Valley single-day event, attracting a record turnout of an estimated 14,000 people. The estimated economic benefit of the show is $1.7 million, proving the value of well-run events to the local economy, particularly when drawing a large number of visitors from outside of our region. And I'll just comment on that. Usually at other events we have in the main street, I walk down there and I know a lot of people. I think there was still the amount of people from our casino there and in Richmond Valley, but there were so many other people, it was just unbelievable how many people were from outside this area. And that's a great thing. It gets casino and the Richmond Valley on the map. In 2018, there were 207 entrants. 2019, 251. 2020 and 2021, no show due to COVID. 2 years ago, Council took over the running of this popular event with the support of a dedicated volunteer organisation committee. This saw a huge increase in numbers, with 375 trucks in 2022 and 580 entrants in 2023. There was 40 trucks who did not enter in time, but they were still in the street, which gave us over 620 trucks in the street, which is amazing. It's making the event the biggest truck show in the Southern Hemisphere, and it's also pleasing to say the Westpac Rescue Helicopter Service was named as a charity partner for the 2023 Casino Truck Show. And it's great to announce that Council will be making a donation of $5,000 to this vital service. Jumbana Community Preschool and Early Intervention Centre and the Casino Community Kitchen will also receive $2,500 to assist their good work supporting our community. I think that's a great outcome for our community. For some local community groups, it was their biggest fundraiser of the year and a boon for local tourism. The truck show has certainly helped to raise Casino's profile, with the feedback being overwhelmingly positive. Many drivers are already planning their 2024 rosters to make sure they don't miss what could be another history-making event. I take this opportunity to thank all sponsors, especially Mick McKinlay from North Coast Petroleum for continuing as the event's major sponsor. Congratulations to Luke Wilson, Bulmers Transport, for being our 2023 Tiny Lowback Rig of the Show. Greg Tiny Lowback was an inaugural member of the Casino Truck Show, and Tiny passed away in 2017. It takes a small army to run an event of this scale, and my congratulations go to Organising Committee Coordinator Darren Goodwin and his team of volunteers, as well as many council staff involved, particularly the Community Connection team of Sharon, Tian, Kendra and Adam. Thank you to everyone who attended 2023 NCP Casino Truck Show this year, and we all look forward to seeing you there again next year. Councillors, for anyone that attend that truck show, I can't speak highly of it. It's just amazing. And the feedback I received from the truckies themselves, and I talked to them from North Queensland right down into the Victoria, and they're all coming back, and I presented a lot of the minor trophies, most probably 40 or 50, and I asked them where they come from and if they're coming back, and yeah, it was all positive. So, great. Any other speakers? I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried. Now, councillors, we have a supplementary agenda, and also to the gallery. It's another mayoral minute, and it's some good news for the showground project. It's another funding boost, and I'll read the recommendation. That Council acknowledge the receipt of an additional $4.6 million for the casino showground and racecourse upgrade under the Bushfire Local Economy Recovery Fund. 2, notes the significant investment by the Australian and New South Wales governments in supporting Council's development of this precinct as a leading regional equestrian centre. And 3, writes to the Minister for Regional New South Wales, the Minister for North Coast, the Member for Page and the Member for Clarence to thank them for their continued support for the showground project. I'll move that, and can I get a seconder, please?
Mr Mayor, I move to admit and second.
Do we have to admit that on a mayoral minute?
Perfectly fine.
All right, I'll take a recommendation to admit that as a supplementary item. Councillor Humphries? Seconder?
Thank you.
Councillor Morrissey? Put that motion. All those in favour? I've already read that, so I won't read the recommendation again, but I will move it. Could I get a seconder, please? Councillor Humphries. Councillors, because this is a supplement, I'll read this for the people viewing at home. This week I was delighted to receive the news that Council had been granted an additional $4.6 million for the casino showground and racecourse upgrade from the Bushfire Local Economy Recovery Fund. This is in addition to the $8.2 million already received from the fund, combined with additional funding from the New South Wales Showground Stimulus Program, Drought Communities Funding and Crown Lands. This brings the total investment of the development to $14 million. The extra funding will ensure that we can complete this project to the highest standard. The master plan, developed in 2020 in consultation with showground user groups and the community, positions casino as the equestrian capital of the Northern Rivers, opening the way for the new major events at the showground site and attracting visitors from throughout the region and interstate. When completed, the upgrade will include a 40 by 80 metre undercovered multi-purpose arena, an outdoor turf equestrian area, 40 by 40 outdoor sand warm-up area, 60 undercover event day stalls and 80 racehorse training stables, centre arena improvements including surface and lighting, race and training track upgrades and equine exercise pool, amenities truck and float accesses and all associated car parking, power upgrades including overnight camping, landscaping and signage. The extra funding will allow us to increase the seating capacity of the events arena to 2,500 and improve access to the facility. It will also provide for special features such as an equine exercise pool and lighting upgrades for the centre arena. This will create a facility that our community can be proud of, and we can expect a huge turnout for the grand opening scheduled for the first half of 2024. The government's decision to allocate additional funding to this project is a testament to our council's successful management of the works. We are recognised as a council that gets on with the job and delivers great outcomes for the community. I'm delighted that we have been able to use so many local contractors on this project. I think that's very important. With the redevelopment works well underway, we are already seeing the benefits of this investment. With a very successful Casino Gold Cup held on perfect conditions at the racecourse on Saturday. It was great to see so many people turning up to enjoy the upgrade facilities. I would like to congratulate all those involved in the Casino Showground upgrade project and look forward to the completion of this regional facility and the many benefits it will bring to the Richmond Valley. Councillors, I attended the Gold Cup on Saturday and I received many positive comments and a lot of feedback from long-time members of the racing fraternity on the upgrade so far. They're all keen to see it finished, and there's talk of trainers wanting to come here and make this their home base. So I thought that was great. And also on the previous page it says this positions casino as an equestrian capital of the Northern Rivers Oak. I've always believed that would occur from day one. This just adds a lot of support to that. But another equine attraction will be the bridle track that will run besides the rail trail. The Tweed area does not have that. This will attract horse enthusiasts, and I was pleased the other day when I was at Lismore at a JO meeting to find out that Lismore will incorporate one there too, so you'll be able to ride from here all the way to Lismore. So I think that's a really great outcome for the horse enthusiasts in our region. Is there any other councillors like to speak? All positive. I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried. Councillors, we now move to page 10. Item 6, confirmation of the minutes. Could I get someone please to move that?
Move.
Of the previous meeting, sorry, held on the 18th of July. Councillor Humphries?
Yes, thank you.
Second.
Councillor Hayes? Is everyone okay with the accuracy of the minutes? Put that motion in. All those in favour? Item 7, matters arising out of the minutes. No matters arising. Declarations of interest. Has any councillor got any declarations? Mr General Manager, have you received any from staff or anyone?
No, none received.
Thank you. Petitions nil. We now go to page 12, item 10, 10.1. Notice of motions. We have one there from Councillor Hayes.
I'll just read it out for the. So
Can you move? Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, then I'll move it. Yep. The notice of motion is that the council writes to the Premier of New South Wales, the Honourable Chris Minns MP, seeking further rate relief for flood-affected residents across the Richmond Valley area for the 2023-24 financial year. If I can, I'll move that.
Seconder, please.
Yep, I'll second.
Councillor Deegan. Thank you. Councillor Hayes.
The rationale's been printed there, but I'll read it out because I think it's important. In March 2022, Council wrote to the then Premier, Dominic Perrotto, and was successful in gaining rate relief for the flood-affected residents across the Richmond Valley area for the 22-23 financial year, under the expectation that the New South Wales Government would have recovery programs on the ground over this period. 18 months on, due to the snail-pace rollout of all state and federal government recovery programs and the fact that 90% of our flood-affected residents who have had to wait until now to be informed they were unsuccessful and will receive no further assistance from the Resilient Homes program. This has been devastating news for families who are now spending their second winter in makeshift accommodation, living in sheds, tents and caravans. They have not been able to enjoy the benefits as other ratepayers have due to the inability of the governments of this time progressing the recovery programs in a timely manner. Another 12-month extension would go a long way to rebuilding our community's confidence in the rollout of further government programs over the next 12 months. I commend this notice of motion to Council.
Any other speakers? No other speakers? Right a reply?
Yeah, write a reply. All right. Since the days following the floods, Council has been advocating strongly for government programs to help affected families restore their homes, and has written many letters voicing its concerns with the slow rollout and the negative outcomes that are being delivered across the Richmond Valley Council area. A letter from Council on behalf of our flood-affected community asking for further rate relief, pitching the past state government against the present one, and reiterating how slow and unorganised the rollout of the NRRCC Resilient Homes program has been, we could be successful. So, thank you.
Any other speakers? Okay. All those in favour? Carried. Page 11, mayoral attendances. I will move those. Could I get a seconder, please?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey, any questions?
Not tonight, Mr. Mayor.
The Tinny Heroes, you want to make comment on what was
Yeah,
there?
yeah, I would. Actually, I've got, I was going to talk on that, so thanks for the question. You'll note there that on the 5th of August, the Tinny Heroes Memorial Plaque unveiling, Councillor Hayes and I attended the unveiling, and it was followed by a community gathering that included a meal and music. It was a lovely night, evening. Unfortunately, I had to leave, that was at 5:30. I had to leave a bit after 7 to get back to the truck show. But yeah, I stayed there hung on for a while. But sometimes events like the 2022 disaster floods are lost in history, as those who experienced them pass or leave the area. This plaque recognises those who were there when their community was in need. And I'd like to read what is on that plaque. It's just got Tinny Heroes. This plaque is dedicated to the men and women who on the 1st of March 2022 took to the water in tinnies, boats and jet skis to save the lives of people, families and their pets during the catastrophic flooding event our villages of Broadwater, Riley's Hill, Dungarooba and Boundary Creek. Their selfless actions during this devastating time brought hope and comfort to many and will never be forgotten. As a community, we are grateful for their unwavering commitment to the safety and well-being of our communities. Let us always remember the courageous acts of our Tinny Heroes and honour them for their extraordinary efforts. We thank them for their bravery on the 1st of March 2022 and for their continued help with delivering vital food, water and medication to stranded residents until the flood had subsided. I think it's very well put together, and it's great that community has that got to memory. I'd like to congratulate Tracy Knox and the Broadwater community for bringing this wonderful recognition to fruition, and I felt proud that the Richmond Valley Council supported the project and honoured to partake in the unveiling of the plaque. It was very, very emotional to me. I know what that community and other communities on the North Coast have been through, and that idea was driven by Tracy and the Broadwater community, so it come from them, and I think that made it even more special.
Just make a comment. Yeah, it was good to be there, and I arrived, and the mayor hadn't got there yet, and Tracy, I was talking to Tracy Knox, and she wanted to know if someone was going to do a speech, and I said, oh yeah, the mayor will do a speech for sure. So I put him right in it because I struggle to speak about the floods. I get choked up, and for the mayor to pull a speech like that and present it in front of that crowd, who he's pretty well associated with, he's got interests around Broadwater, and to present it and to unveil the plaque and get it right was pretty special. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other dates you want to call out? All right, then I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. Page 14. Delegates' reports. I'll move that one because it has my name on it. Seconder,
I'll second it, thank
Councillor
you.
Humphries. Councillors, just with the attendance there, this report is put down to me as the author, but I can say that most or all of the attendees had some input to it, but I will give a credit to Tegan, who took a lot of notes on that day and yeah, put most of it together, and I support her comments. The main thing the main message I received from the conference was the necessity and requirement to understand and abide by the legislation requirements of the modern day selling centre, and they're changing all the time. This also includes the culture changes and current workplace practices. It's come out quite clear that there's no room for the old school sale yards behaviour. There's that many regulations now and government agencies involved. It's just new times. So, is any other councillor want to ask a question or make a comment?
Just a question around on the second page there, on page 15 of the paper. It says ALPA, A-L-P-A, Peter Baldwin. There's a couple of pretty good comments there. What is actually ALPA? What does that stand for?
They're the Australian Livestock and Property Agents Association, and Peter spoke for a while on that. Yeah. Councillor Humphries?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to make a couple of comments. I do support the report in the business paper tonight. The majority of the speakers, including those in the panel sessions, they touched on the same basic areas of concern and those needing attention, and they're pretty much the same as I heard at the last expo last year, being animal welfare standards, staff safety, operational policies, documentations for all stakeholders, managing and minimising risks, the importance of training and acknowledgement of the chain of responsibility. I would like just to make a couple of additional comments. Tegan has talked about a few of the speakers there. Terry Nowlan from Nowlan Meats, he touched on all of the above, adding the importance of the industry to operate within high ethical standards. He was very direct with his phrases that he offered to the conference around animal welfare. Two of them I brought along. Are you blind? Blind animals arriving at sale yards is unacceptable. Your handiwork is our headache, stating that horn injury is unacceptable. From the Animal Angels, Dawn Love, she highlighted the importance of maintaining public trust in the industry. And Peter Baldwin, I certainly liked his comment about the importance for the future of the industry to attract youth and females. Tom, I'm thinking that he must have been a panellist. He said producers want young people to have a career path and to be proud of their career choices. And Cassie commented that aiming to set a high standard throughout the entire business ensures sale yards' efficiencies. The report in the minutes also has updated information on the Effluent Code of Practice, Australia's response to biosecurity threats, and news that a chain of responsibility handbook is being produced, as well as a code of practice for livestock loading is being developed. Thank you for the opportunity to attend the expo.
Any other questions, speakers? Councillor Hayes?
Just something else I've picked up there just by reading through the meeting. On page 16, it says under keynote speaker, Australia's response to increased biosecurity threats, Dr. Chris Parker. Down there it says vaccinating would remove Australia's disease-free status and limit market opportunities, so will only be used as a last resort. Is that a typo? No?
There you go. Mr. General Manager, like to comment?
From a livestock market perspective, it's actually better to be completely disease-free. Once you vaccinate, it sends a message to the global market that you may have it, and that you've taken that step to put vaccination in place. So it's about positioning yourself in the global export market. Australia is disease-free. He was very strong on this. There's obviously a lot of resources go into keeping these diseases out of the country. And it was a good point of discussion, because someone actually got up and asked the question, well, why don't we vaccinate and make sure we don't get it? Well, and that was the direct answer. You don't want to vaccinate because you actually want to be completely disease-free. So that's the real focus there. He had obviously a level of confidence that we got systems in place. Vaccination would become an issue if one of these came into the country. We may need to then go down the vaccination path. And from memory, he said if one of these come into the country, the best case of eradicating it completely can take you a couple of years. It takes 2 years to do that. So it was an interesting session.
Just like to say, like that conference is pretty pretty important to what we do in managing the NRLX out here. So it's it's all relevant. So it's a good conference. I know I didn't go this year, but I went the year before, and they're still following through with stuff they touched on last year, and it's it just keeps things rolling along. It's quite good.
Just to follow up on that, I know there's a bit of controversy just at present about lumpy skin disease. It's showing up on Australian cattle that are landing in Asia, but Australia's saying that they're not leaving here with it. So whether they're getting it when they get over there, but there's a bit of controversy actually happening at present over that. So that's one to keep an eye on. Mr. General Manager, Councillor Humphreys tipped on animal angels, Dawn Lowe, and one of the dots there is animal angels regularly do sale yard visits and audits to assess compliance. When our sale yard's up and running again, would it be beneficial if we invited animal angels to come and have a look at NRLX and do an audit on us?
Oh, look, certainly something we could consider. The animal angels do it they basically come in and do an assessment. They don't engage with the media, so it's not about finding faults or issues and then showing that up in the media and obviously the reputational issues that can come with that. It's about working in a proactive and I suppose partnership way with an operator of a sale yard to go in, do an assessment, give advice and training. So definitely something that we can consider.
They might even, while they're in the area, do a few visits to some other yards in the North Coast. Just to close, any other councillor want to speak? No. So just to close, I noticed that council's NRLX manager has been re-elected on the secretariat again of this organisation, and by all observations at the conference, he's very well respected by his peers. So congratulations to him.
Just to clarify, just so that people are aware, so our manager is the ASMA, which is the Australian Sale Yard Managers Association. This conference is organised by the Australian Livestock Managers Association. So they're actually two sets. So the ALMA sort of sits above, and ASMA, the president of ASMA has a seat on the board of ALMA. So they're sort of they're associate organisations. Obviously, the ASMA is about specifically for sale yard. You have to be a sale yard manager to basically be on that association, whereas the Australian Livestock Managers Association has members that are sale yard managers, councils, and other members of the wider industry. Yeah. So there is a distinction between the two.
This is industry focused as managers.
Yeah.
but overall at the whole conference he was very well received. All right then, that was closed the debate. I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried, unanimous. Page 18, matters for information. Has any councillors like to call out matters for determination? Has any, skipped that quick, didn't I? Has any councillors like to debate a item? Oh, you go.
Call 14.1.
14.1. Any other councillors? Okay, I need a motion then, please, for item 17.1 and 17.2. Could I get that, please?
Move, Mayor.
Councillor
Second.
Morrissey, Councillor Humphries, second.
I'll second.
I got Councillor Humphries, sorry. Yep. Put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried. Page 19. 14.1. Councillor Hayes.
Yeah, I'm happy to move the recommendation as written, but I just want to make a few comments based around it and where we're heading with our recovery.
Seconder.
Second.
Councillor Humphries.
Thank you.
Councillor Hayes.
Just based on the part on helping people return to their homes, the letter in item 19.6 in today's agenda goes a long way trying to indicate to the New South Wales Reconstruction Authority that our smaller towns affected by the 2022 floods are located on floodplain. And if the buyback part of the program results in every third house in a street being demolished and the site rendered never to be built on, it's my opinion that the towns will lose their ability to repopulate because of the unavailability of flood-free land, leaving all the upgrade and recovery works we have completed and have planned in these towns will be wasted. If the community is supportive, and I think a large number would be, would council be able to lobby for house lifts and resilience works instead of buybacks, as one buyback would cover the cost of 3 to 4 house lifts? And only support buybacks where a building was damaged by the force of the water or because of erosion and, of course, a depth of danger, if there's any danger involved. I'll go on. I said professional house lifts and ground level engineering design that can be bestowed on the existing houses in these towns would make them safer than what they are now to withstand the forces of floods in the future. Once people accept a buyback, most will have to pay out their mortgages, and that would result in them not ever being able to return to any of these towns located in the lower river areas. Because to get a new mortgage with the financial institution, you must now buy on flood-free land. Otherwise you can't get a mortgage. Once those people go, they'll never be able to return, and they won't have land to return to. So I really think that the resilience and the buybacks and the house lifts and the resilience, you know, they suit some towns, but the towns where there's no land that is flood-free, you know, they're better off lifting the houses. You know, I think that's something that the community down our way would agree to, but how we go about it, I've got no idea. But I think before we get too much further down the track, we should be having that conversation. So I don't know if you realise, but a couple of buybacks have been offered around Woodburn, and people are starting to weigh up. Some of these people have already spent money on their homes. Once they pay off their, you know, they get their buyback money, pay off what they borrowed extra on top of their mortgages, there's nothing left. And then they've got nowhere to live. And we're in the middle of a housing crisis. You know, it's just going to make the whole situation worse. The buybacks, I think, and I'm only saying in the lower river areas where there's no flood-free land, are going to be a problem.
Any other speakers?
Oh, thanks, Mr Mayor. Some very good comments there, Councillor Hayes, and well worth thinking of further down the track, having staff sort of looking more into those. I've wanted to say that the report is such a positive story, but I feel a bit flat now. However, I'm going to push on. This report is such a positive story for our Richmond Valley community, and I would like to make a few comments. In drafting the Rebuilding the Richmond Valley Recovery Plan, I believe that the groundwork behind gaining a good understanding of the scale of the damage and how long it was going to take to fix was an incredibly valuable body of work as Council set about sound and efficient recovery with a clear plan, allocated responsibilities and priority actions. With the immediate focus on fixing essential services and helping people to recover and get back on their feet. 1 year on, and it is an amazing achievement by Richmond Valley Council. Richmond Valley Council has completed all of its infrastructure repairs and the majority of restoration works for community buildings and sporting facilities. The recovery workload accomplished for our community over the past 12 months by Team Richmond Valley Council is, I believe, nothing short of remarkable. With 2 years of the plan to deliver, there's certainly no way that we can slack off at this point. High priority status will remain around continued and bold advocacy for regional buybacks, reallocation and house resilience programs, unless, of course, we can factor in something else, having listened to Councillor Hayes. Lists of the example of Council's robust approach to advocacy can be found on page 23 of the report, and the success has secured $36 million in government funding. Going forward, Richmond Valley Council will continue to work towards securing Richmond Valley's place as a growing regional centre, as it continues to work to attract more investment to the Richmond Valley and provide more jobs and housing for our community. Our community strategic plan putting out the vision to grow the population to 4,000, provide 2,000 new homes and offer 2,000 new opportunities for jobs. Tonight's report also includes confirmation about the work around a project that I'm asked a lot about, and I know that other councillors are as well, and that's the Norton's Gap Road. The report reads that the funding has finally been secured in July, along with $2 million in betterment funding to help reduce the risk of further damage to the road. Council has now called for tenders to repair the road and hopes to see the work commence before the end of the year. Congratulations and thank you very much, Richmond Valley Council.
Any other speakers? I'll just make a couple of comments. Sorry, Councillor Deegan.
Yeah, so there's been a few announcements made recently just regarding some projects. Just, is there any update on the Bungawalbin levy? Do we know why it continues to miss out on grants, and if there's anything on the horizon?
The Bungawalbin levy was discussed when Minister Watt was here. He was of the understanding that Rouse had removed the Bungawalbin levy out of one of the grant applications. I said that's not correct. I rang, he had a CSIRO person with him. I rang the GM of Rouse, put the CSIRO delegate on the phone to the GM. They talked for about 15 or 20 minutes, and I've known since then that the Murray Watt has confirmed that Rouse did not take it out. It was taken out through a government agency. So it is going back in. Hopefully there could be some funding available. There is, I believe, to be announced very soon, some money allocated for some repairs, but the money that is needed is to do a full study why it all of a sudden it's starting to fail on multiple occasions. Years ago it never did, whether it's a more frequent occurrence or the higher floods, but that study needs to happen because that Bungawalbin levy is very vital to the lower Richmond River area. Stops the water going backwards into Woodburn. So, yes, there is some light on the horizon. I can't say when, but it's a shame that got confused. But I know that the General Manager of Rouse is keeping in contact with the residents down there on the issue. Anything else? I just agree with the content of the report. It's very positive, and Council has been really on the front foot since those floods, and I think Richmond Valley done well and was congratulated by a lot of government departments and politicians when we had the fires in 2019 and the recovery effort there, and I think we learned a lot out of that disaster, and it shows through into this report and our recovery process. But I'd like just to mention a couple of things. We all sometimes focus on the big issues, but when you see the completion priorities and some of the smaller ones there is just like supporting and rehoming and fostering of pets for displaced families. That can be a very stressful time for people who have had pets for 5, 10, 15 years. They can't take them where they've got to go. So I think that, and they're stressed out from the floods, they've lost their properties, and I think for them to know that their animals are going to be well cared for, I think that's a great outcome. And it's only little things, but it goes a lot to mental health, towards people's mental health. I'd just like to ask the General Manager to comment on the completing of the Richmond Valley Growth Manager Strategy, which identifies future housing development sites. Could you comment on that, please?
Yeah, so we've finished that work, which identifies obviously the future growth opportunities right across the Richmond Valley. At the same time, we did the casino place plan, and over the next month or so, we'll be commencing place plans across our lower river towns and villages. The importance of that, having that work done, was when the Resilient Lands program came out to support the flood recovery. So we were able to immediately just say, well, here's our plan, here's what we've got, and put forward some of those sites. And as a result of that, the Resilient Lands program has identified the land near Fairy Hill as a large residential development. So it's on the New South Wales Reconstruction Authority's radar. It's part of that program. So we'll be pushing hard to get as much support, both with support funding, but also with streamlining processes, because we all know, and I was at a Business New South Wales event today where housing crisis and need for more housing just comes up in almost every other conversation. So having that work done was very important, and I think the other thing now, having our flood study done, it's been out to consultation, which is closing shortly, is again important that we've pushed on with that work while we've also been dealing with helping our community to recover.
Another question, it's with the environmental restoration, and we over just below QE2, it's wonderful over there now, and there's a little park to go down to the river, and I know we've in conjunction with Rouse, some habitat restoration at Corrokai. But is there any update on Houstel Drive, down under the car bridge? What's the? I know we received some funding.
Yeah, we've got funding for that, and I understand commencement of that work is imminent. Director Zeller might have maybe a date, or it's next week. Yeah, I knew it was imminent. So yeah, next week. So that obviously. That project requires obviously the removal of the concrete. Being on a riverbank, there's been a lot of required approvals from fisheries to environmental approvals and waterways. So that's all in place, and the concrete will be removed from the site and will go to an area just to the south of the showground, where it will then be recycled, so crushed for transport and reuse. So that project will require obviously significant truck movements in and out of Webb Park, the access there. So obviously be a very visible project, right adjacent and under the bridge. But yeah, it'd be good to see it start so that we can continue with the clean-up of that area.
It needs to happen because every time people drive, it's a reminder of what occurred in floods. So it needs
And
to
I understand ultimately there will be an access road at least back under to the bridge, obviously for maintenance purposes. It will depend how we go with managing the budget that we have available as to exactly what shape that takes. So we've got about, it's just over $1 million under a New South Wales government program, because it's actually, it's not council's land, it's the Crown land, but we jumped on the front foot, put in an application as part of a program that was targeted at this sort of thing. We secured that, and we are, our assets team is managing this project for the, in effect, for the Crown, so that we can get it cleaned up and, as you say, get rid of another symbol of that flood event.
And just to, for my last comment is, on page 21, you see the reopening of community sport fields right across the council area. They were all damaged and we got money to top dress them and that, but the photo from when everyone's belongings that were damaged in the flood, and it was all tipped there because it couldn't get to the dumps and where they had to go, to what it is now with a beautiful seal car park and cricket nets. So I think it's an outstanding outcome, and I'd like to thank and ask you to pass all your the comments from council tonight onto all our staff and this flood recovery report. And I'm very proud to say that our community and council are all getting on with making our place a better place to live. So. Councillor Hayes.
Yeah, just to close up, look, I didn't deliberately go out there to overlook the positives on that report. I just had my mindset on the Lower River and the house lifting for tonight. But after listening to Councillor Humphreys, yeah, there's some great stuff in that report, and the recovery work, you know, in and around my little spur is all going, looks to be performing well. So it's good. It's good for the council. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put that motion, and all those in favour? Carried. Page 34, item 19, matters for information. Could I get a mover, please?
Mr Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey, and a seconder?
Yeah, second.
Councillor Hayes. Councillor Morrissey.
Nothing, Mr Mayor.
Any other speakers?
Yeah.
Councillor Hayes.
Just the whole report is aimed at the financial position out there at the moment, and you know, anyone can look at that report, and it's not very good, and it's, you know, something needs doing. I think it's got that spelled all over it. So we just need to keep following through of where we're at with it, and hopefully in the future we can come to some kind of a resolve over what we need to do out there to keep it above the line.
Any other speakers? Just to follow up on Councillor Hayes, yeah, it's with the loan and the depreciation factor that comes into, which is required under the Local Government Act. It's easy to get money for a build, but from government's grants, you'll never get them, or very rarely get them, for maintenance issues or running a deficit. So that has to be addressed. My concern is that in the council's priority projects prospectus we put out for government grants. It includes an NRLX effluent treatment ponds upgrade, which is a requirement for the EPA. And I'd like to ask the General Manager to give us an update on the status of them and cost and funding opportunities, please.
So, obviously with a sale yards of the scale of the NRLX, you're required to have an environmental pollution licence. Big reason for that at the NRLX is obviously under the previous, obviously before we put a roof on, the effluent ponds had a far bigger place, with more volume going through them. Those ponds have been there, since the initial build, and with obviously the flood events and the volume through that area, there was some damage to the pond wall heights, and also with the build-up of sludge over that, a 35-year period. The EPA have put in place what's called a pollution reduction program within our environmental protection licence, and what that requires us specifically is around desludging works, but also to fix those ponds. So really, it's just I suppose a result of 35 years of use, and that they need some renewal. And to do that, we identified this. It'd be at least 6 months ago. Obviously, the document the Mayor refers to is something we use to attract grant funding, a lot of which we've talked about our successes here. So at this point in time, we're seeking grant funding up to, it's estimated to be about a $5 million job to redo those effluent pond system properly. A big component of that is to remove the sludge. So obviously that is contaminated material, which would need to be removed and taken to a appropriate landfill facility generally. So yeah, that's so that'd be removal of that, but also earthworks to fix the pond banks, and also to raise them, because obviously adjacent to those ponds is where the stormwater flows through that site and downstream into the adjacent wetlands, and obviously works its way eventually into the Richmond River. So that's what that project's about. So two choices: we get lucky and get some grant funding to get that done, or we have to find funding within our own NRLX program to fix that issue. And when you have an environmental pollution licence and a pollution reduction program requirement, which we are required to report back on in December this year, we certainly need to be showing some action. So I suppose the point there is it's a $5 million, potentially a $5 million legacy item for a large sale yard. Once a sale yard gets over 50,000 head throughput, then you're required to have an EPL, and meeting these sorts of requirements from the EPA becomes part of doing business.
Any other speakers? And that's why over the years there needed to be a reserve built up to be able to fund requirements that this venue and facility needs to do to be able to keep operating. And it's just unfortunate that over the years the fees haven't been enough to build that levy up.
Is there any money in that reserve at all?
Sorry?
Is there any money in the reserve at all at present?
Ask the General Manager that. There's some, but nothing like $5 million.
No, there's not 500 million in it, but yeah, 5 million. There is a couple of 100,000 in that from memory, but obviously this year's result that you can see has just reduced that. That eats into that reserve, that any deficit that we have there.
Thank you. Any other questions on matters for information? I have got a couple of quick statements on page 38. As usual, our Upper Clarence Regional Library annual report is very positive. And I'll just pick out a couple of the items. A quality library service returning to pre-COVID service levels. I think that's a great recovery. There's 117,924 members and guests use the library's facilities. 16,544 registered members of the regional library. 1,162 new members joined the library during the period. There were 6,078 children attended 401 children and youth events held across our region, and 470 successful adult programs, which included tech savvy for seniors, craft for flood victims, adult colouring in book clubs and book launches, and 51,840 information and customer service requests, and 9,374 internet bookings. So what the library does for our community, I'd like to congratulate all the library staff on delivering another outstanding 12 months of services to our community. I think they've been, every year they just keep powering. That's great. And the other one I'd like to mention is on page 57. It's about the Collie Park facility building, and it's for me it's coming at a right time because with all the success of the Matildas and the current World Cup, there's a big following, and the building will no doubt be used by increased junior numbers, and it's also there for the women in sport. Their change facilities need a really big uplift. So, yeah, let's be ready for next year's season, and we'll all go from there. So it's coming at a great time. There's no other.
Can I just make a comment on the correspondence, the letter that we've written to the ministers?
Yep. Yep.
On page 55, the second last paragraph.
Yep. Sorry.
I'll just read it out. It says, while Council appreciates the need for risk management, we also cannot escape the reality that many North Coast communities are located on the floodplain. Realistic and consistent approaches to low-risk flood environments are required if there is to be any future growth in our region. At a time when the Northern Rivers is facing a major housing crisis, we need to provide clear, consistent and realistic planning solutions that support residential development in low-risk land. Council would welcome further discussion with the Department of Planning on how this may be achieved for our community. So what I'm asking, it follows up from 14.1. It's when we receive a reply from any of these ministers, can further discussions include the need for house lifts in preference to buybacks, and are we able to consult further with the people that are faced with these challenges prior? So I just think it's something we should be following through with. They link together. Yeah, it's been covered in that letter.
Yeah, we can add that.
It needs to be followed up.
No other? Councillor Morrissey? No. I'll put that motion and all those in favour. Back on page 34. Thank you. Questions on notice? Councillor Hayes asked these. Councillor Hayes.
Do you want me to read out the questions one by one?
Yeah, would be good for those
Okay.
people that are home.
I'll just start off with the background. It said, We are now nearly 7 weeks into the sales into no sales at the Northern Rivers Livestock Exchange, due to agents refusing to sign their licence agreements to operate at the facility, leaving doubt over the future of the NRLX as a livestock selling facility. To inform our future decision-making around our ongoing involvement in the management of the complex, can the General Manager answer the following questions? I'll just ask them one at a time. It says, what is the current value of the complex?
So the current written down value of the asset is, of the full complex site is $28.5 million. To get an indication of the market value of the asset, we obviously need to procure an independent market valuation to do that.
Thank you. The second one, is council able to lease the complex, and what would that entail?
Yes, councils have the authority to lease their assets. To lease the facility to operate as a sale yard, a draft contract could be drawn up. Council would or could then go to tender. A panel would assess any tender submissions, and if a successful tenderer was resolved by council, a contract could then be signed granting an operating lease for the sale yard to a successful tenderer. This would be similar. This would be a similar process to how council has leased its 2 council-owned quarries.
Thank you again. And the third question, what other business uses could the complex be suited for?
So the NRLX business plan that councillors are aware of didn't assess other uses. However, since you raised these questions, we've obviously given that some quick consideration, and some options that could be considered include a private enterprise sale yard, a boutique livestock or other animals sales, for example horse sales. Parts of the premises could potentially be utilised as a small volume feedlot. That would obviously be subject to licensing amendments and requirements with the EPA. Or another one, as you're aware, we've been looking for solutions to green waste. So a covered green waste organics processing facility. So just a couple of quick ideas around that question.
Okay, and the next one's a bit long-winded. It says, if prior to the 30th of June 2023, with the previous selling permit and fees in place, a special rate levy was to be applied across all ratepayers within the Richmond Valley Council local government area to bring the NRLX business to a break-even operating result, allowing for all expenditure, including maintenance, borrowing costs and depreciation, what would that levy amount to?
So based on the financial year 2022-23 NRLX program deficit, which was $647,000, in the Richmond Valley we have 10,828 rateable properties. So if you do the maths, a flat rate special levy across all properties would require a levy of $60 per property to fund the NRLX program deficit so that it breaks even.
Okay, thank you. And what are the potential impacts for council if serious work, health and safety issues occur at the facility?
So there's a couple of sections in the Work Health and Safety Act. Section 19 sets out the primary duty of care and specifies that the person conducting a business or undertaking, known as the PCBU, which for this facility is me, must ensure, so far as is reasonably practicable, the health and safety of all workers. Section 20 of the Work Health and Safety Act sets out the duty of persons conducting business or undertakings involving management or control of workplaces, which also includes the person with management or control of a workplace must ensure, so far as is reasonably practicable, that the workplace, the means of entering and exiting the workplace, and anything arising from the workplace are without risks to the health and safety of any person. Obviously, Section 19 and Section 20 are fairly lengthy sections with lots of scenarios, so with any sort of legal thing it's worth reading it in its entirety. So that's the key parts of the Work Health and Safety Act. As far as penalties, if a person or a PCBU is found guilty of recklessly exposing a person to risk of death or injury and not upholding these primary duties, a personal fine for an employee is up to $381,000 and up to 5 years imprisonment. The officer, which is the PCBU, which in this case is me, is up to $761,000 and up to 5 years imprisonment. And for a body corporate, which includes a council, it is up to $3.8 million.
Thank you.
Sorry, would you like to move those down the bottom, that motion?
I'll move the recommendation at the bottom there, that the response to my questions regarding the Northern Rivers Livestock Exchange to be received and noted.
Seconder, please.
Second.
Councillor Humphries, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. Page 60, item 21. Questions for the next meeting? Any questions? No. Before we go into closed committee, I'd just like to say that tonight's agenda, I think, is a very positive one. It just showed the diversity of and range of the items that council deals with. It was very positive, and I think there's some exciting times for our community, Richmond Valley community, and for the residents' future. There's a lot of activities happening in our region, and the money for the showground, I think, will be very beneficial for the whole region. So I now need a motion to go into closed committee. Councillor Morrissey, seconder. Councillor McGillen. Is there any representation from the gallery why council should not go into closed committee? No. Mr. General Manager, have you received any written representation?
No, none received.
I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Thank you. Thanks everyone for your attendance. It's great to see you, hear the rain on the roof, and everyone have a safe trip home, please. Thank you. Mr. General Manager, could you read the resolution of closed council, please?
Good to go. In the item 22.1, tender VP 359745, design and construct package Reynolds Road Bridge and Lolback Creek Bridge replacement. Recommend that council accepts the tender from Auswide Bridge Rail and Civil Proprietary Limited, which represents the best value for council at $1,358,250 exclusive of GST. And 2, the General Manager be authorised to negotiate and finalise the terms and conditions of any contract or agreement in line with the content of this report and the available budget, and affixing the seal of council where necessary.
In relation to item 22.2, tender VP 367264, South Casino Sewage Transfer Station Pumping Station, the resolution read that 1, declines the submissions received for tender VP 367264, South Casino Sewage Transfer Station Pumping Station, due to the single submission price being higher than the budget allocated for the works. 2, applies clause 1783E of the Local Government General Regulation 2021 to authorise the General Manager to enter into direct negotiations with suitably qualified contractors with a view to procure works that provide council with the best outcome, both from a financial and delivery perspective, and to finalise the terms of the contract or agreement and affixing the seal of council where necessary. And 3, notes that the outcome of the negotiations will be reported to council for information at a future meeting.
In item 22.3, write-off of monies under delegation, resolved that council receives and notes the write-off of monies totalling $7,765.11 under the General Manager's delegation.
And for item 22.4, Northern Rivers Livestock Exchange Agent Licence Procurement Process Update. Council resolved that it receives and notes the Northern Rivers Livestock Exchange Agent Licence Procurement Process Update and the interest shown in operating at the facility.
Thank you. That closes the meeting. Everyone drive home safely on the slippery roads, please. Thank you.